My name is Sydney. I'm 17. And in January of 22-23, I was home alone at my family's house outside Columbus, Ohio, for the first time overnight while my parents drove down to Cincinnati for my grandmother's surgery. It was supposed to be one night, maybe two, and I was actually kind of excited about it in the boring way any 17-year-old is excited about having a house to themselves, ordering food, watching whatever I wanted, not worrying about anyone walking in on me in the living room. A winter storm rolled in that afternoon, the kind Ohio gets a few times every January. Heavy, wet snow and wind that rattled the windows in their frames. By 8 p.m., the power had already flickered twice, and I'd found the flashlights and candles from the hall closet just in case. Texting my mom updates that everything was fine, which it was at that point. I settled into the living room with a blanket and my phone at maybe 40% battery since I'd forgotten to charge it earlier like an idiot. The power actually went out around 9:30 all at once, no flicker first, just gone, and the house went from normal to completely dark and silent except for the wind outside. I wasn't scared exactly. Our power had gone out before. I lit a couple candles in the living room and figured I'd just wait it out with my phone flashlight if I needed to move around. I texted my mom that the power was out and got a reply a few minutes later saying the storm had knocked out a line near their Route 2, that they were fine, and to call if I needed anything. Around 10, I heard a sound from the back of the house, near the mudroom door off the kitchen, a distinct metallic scrape, not the wind, which had a completely different sound against the siding that I'd been listening to for over an hour by then. I sat completely still on the couch and told myself it was probably a tree branch or something loose banging against the house in the wind, since a storm like that knocked all kinds of things around outside. I didn't get up right away, I just listened. It happened again maybe 5 minutes later, the same scrape, followed by what I was almost sure was the mudroom door itself, moving slightly against its frame, testing against the lock, rather than blowing in the wind, which doesn't explain a doorknob turning back and forth, which is what I heard next. Distinct and metallic, and clearly a hand doing it. My whole body went cold in a way that had nothing to do with the power being out. I grabbed my phone, 31% battery now, and moved as quietly as I could toward the stairs instead of anywhere near that door. I locked myself in my parents' bedroom upstairs, which had the only door in the house with an actual working deadbolt lock on the inside, and called 911 with my hands shaking so badly I had to redial once. I told the dispatcher someone was trying to get in through my back door, gave her the address, and she kept me on the line, telling me to stay quiet and stay put while she got a unit moving toward the house. I heard the mudroom door rattle twice more over the next several minutes while I sat against my parents' headboard in the dark, not answering when she asked if I could still hear anything, just breathing into the phone so she'd know I was okay. The deputies arrived 12 minutes after my call, lights off as they approached, per the dispatcher's instructions, and found a man crouched near our back door with a flathead screwdriver still wedged in the frame where he'd been working at the lock. He ran the second their spotlight hit him, but they caught him 2 houses down, cutting through the Hendersons' backyard, and it turned out he'd already been connected to 2 other attempted break-ins on our street over the previous month, both during the day when houses were supposedly empty. Mine was the first one where somebody was actually home, and the only reason they caught him at all. My parents got back around 1 in the morning once the roads cleared enough to drive, and my mom didn't let go of me for a long time. I still keep my phone charged past 50% no matter what, every single night. And I know exactly what a screwdriver in a door frame sounds like now, a sound I never wanted to learn. My name's Owen, I'm 20, and in May of 2023, I was house sitting for my aunt and uncle in a suburb outside Raleigh for what was supposed to be a relaxing week between spring and summer semesters, feeding their cat, watering plants, and mostly just enjoying a house with better Wi-Fi and a bigger TV than my dorm. It's a big house, 5 bedrooms, most of them unused since my cousins moved out, and my aunt had walked me through the whole layout before they left for their anniversary trip, including which doors locked automatically and which ones needed a manual deadbolt. The first 3 nights were completely uneventful. I fell into an easy routine, feeding the cat, doing schoolwork on the back patio during the day, watching movies in the living room until late. The house made noises I wasn't used to. The specific creak of an unfamiliar staircase, the hum of a furnace system different from my parents' place, but nothing that felt like more than a house I hadn't lived in, learning to settle around me. On the 4th night, around midnight, I heard what sounded like a door closing somewhere upstairs. Not loud, just a soft click of a latch catching. I was in the living room downstairs and told myself it was probably the cat, who I'd already caught nosing open a couple of the unused bedroom doors that didn't fully latch on their own, since my aunt had mentioned that exact thing during her walkthrough. I finished the episode I was watching before I even went to check, which in hindsight is exactly the kind of thing you only do when you genuinely don't think anything's wrong yet. When I did go up, all the doors were shut the way they were supposed to be, and I didn't see the cat anywhere on that floor. But I found her a minute later curled up asleep on my bed in the guest room, which made the door closing sound make even less sense, since she'd clearly been there a while. I stood in the hallway for a second, decided I was probably overthinking a house settling at night, and went back downstairs. Around 2 a.m., I heard footsteps. Not the vague creak of an old house sound I'd been explaining away for days, but distinct, rhythmic footsteps crossing the floor directly above the living room, where I knew for a fact there was nothing but an unused bedroom and a hallway, and the cat was still curled up on my bed exactly where I'd left her, which I checked on my phone through the pet camera app my aunt had shown me, one aimed at the guest room specifically so she could check on the cat while traveling. I sat frozen on the couch and made myself actually think it through instead of explaining it away a 3rd time. The cat was accounted for on camera. The footsteps were rhythmic and directional in a way nothing else in that house had been. And they were still going. Slow, deliberate, crossing back and forth like someone pacing. I grabbed my phone and my car keys and left through the front door instead of going up to check, walking straight to my car in the driveway and locking myself inside before I called 911 from the driver's seat. Engine running, headlights on the house. Police arrived within 10 minutes and cleared the house room by room while I waited in my car. They found a window unlocked in one of the unused bedrooms upstairs, the exact one above the living room. Screen popped out and left on the ground outside and confirmed someone had been inside. But whoever it was had already gone out the same window by the time they searched, likely the moment they heard sirens or saw my headlights leave the driveway. An officer told me directly that leaving the house instead of investigating myself was almost certainly the reason nothing worse happened, since I'd basically had someone circling the floor above me for who knows how long before I finally moved. My aunt and uncle came home a day early once I called them, and they had a full security system installed within the month. Cameras on every window this time, not just the guest room. I finished my house-sitting week at my own apartment instead, and I still don't fully know how long that window had been open before I heard those first footsteps. I'm Bethany, I'm 16, and in March of 2022, I stayed home alone for the first half of my family's spring break trip to Florida because I had a club soccer tournament that weekend, and my parents didn't want me to miss it. So the plan was my older cousin Rachel would stay with me for 2 nights before we both flew down to join everyone. Rachel got held up at her job and texted that she'd be a day late, which left me 1 full night completely by myself in our house outside Tulsa. Something I'd technically done before for a few hours, but never overnight. I wasn't worried about it. I locked up like my parents always reminded me to, set the alarm system, and spent the evening doing normal stuff, homework, texting my friends about the tournament, watching TV in the family room with all the lights on, because I liked it that way, not because I was nervous. Around 10, I went up to bed, checked that my door was locked out of habit, even though nobody else was in the house to lock it against, and fell asleep with my phone next to my pillow. I woke up a little after 1 in the morning to the sound of the garage door opening. Our garage door has a specific mechanical groan to it, loud enough to hear clearly from my room right above it, and I lay there for a second telling myself it was probably my dad, that maybe the trip got moved up or something changed and he'd driven back for some reason, even though that made no logical sense given they were 4 states away by then. I actually reached for my phone to text him before I stopped myself because I realized I was constructing an explanation I didn't actually believe just because it was easier than the alternative. I texted my mom instead, telling her the garage door was opening and I didn't know why, my hands cold on the screen. She called me back within 30 seconds, and I answered whisper quiet, telling her what I'd heard, while I heard distinctly now the door from the garage into the kitchen open, and footsteps below me in the kitchen. Someone moving around like they knew the layout, opening what sounded like the fridge. My mom told me, very calmly and very clearly, to lock my bedroom door, get in my closet, and call 911 immediately, while she stayed on the line with me. I did exactly that, sitting on the floor of my closet with my knees pulled up, phone against my ear with the dispatcher now also talking to me, telling me units were on the way, asking me to stay as quiet as possible and describe anything I could hear. I heard the footsteps move from the kitchen toward the staircase at one point, and I have never been as aware of my own heartbeat as I was in that closet, certain each creak on the stairs was getting closer to my door. The footsteps stopped partway up, then retreated back down, and maybe 90 seconds later, I heard the garage door groan open again and a car engine start in our driveway, tires pulling away fast. Police arrived about 4 minutes after that, cleared the house room by room with me still locked in my closet until an officer called up to me by name, using information my mom had given the dispatcher before I unlocked my door and came out. It turned out our garage door code hadn't been changed in nearly a decade, since well before we'd even moved into the house, and whoever broke in had somehow gotten hold of the old code, possibly from a previous owner or a service company that had once had access. They found a laptop bag by our back door, apparently dropped in the retreat, with nothing inside that ever led anywhere. Police never caught who it was. We changed every code and lock in that house within days, and I didn't stay home alone again for over a year, not until I made myself do it on purpose just to prove I still could.